of this organization, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He wanted that people could come to a place once a week at least and feel the spiritual atmosphere, and especially practice bhakti yoga, the mainstay of which is chanting the Mahamantra, which is a combination of names of the divine. And the mantra has 3 words, Hare, Krishna, Rama. And the word Hare is the vocative form of Hari. Hari is the name of Krishna, means he takes away all unnecessary burdens that we carry in this world. And Hare also means the divine energy of the Lord in the form of Srimati Radharani. So when we say Hare and then Krishna, everyone try it, Krishna. Krishna is the name for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's the origin of everything. Aham eva sameva agre nanyat yat sarasat param. That's the original verses of the Bhagavatam are in 4 verses, and in one of them, Krishna tells Brahma that before the material creation there was I, and it all emanates from him. He's the source of everything. Krishna also means all attractive, and Rama means Krishna's unlimited potency for pleasure. So the 3 words, Hare, Krishna, and Rama, are primary names of God. And the mantra itself appears in the Upanishads. Kalisantarana Upanishad actually names the mantra like this: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then it says, Iti sodasakam namnam kalikalma shanashanam. That these 16 words with 32 syllables, when chanted, remove all the obstacles in this present age of Kali Yuga. So that's a good idea, right?
Yes.
No? Not so much? We need something, right? And Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, started these centers around the world where everyone could come together and chant, because the chanting is best done in a group. And this is called Samkirtan. San means together, and Kirtan means to sing. So Samkirtan means to sing together, and it's also mentioned as the Yuga Dharma, that in every era there's a particular spiritual practice that gives one the most traction, where you can attain perfection in your human life. Anybody's human, raise your hand. Oh, come on, don't be so humble. All right. So if you're human, you're lucky. You came to the right yuga, where just by chanting Hare Krishna, you get the benefits of all the other types of processes that were recommended for other age, and some of them were a little more involved. They required more stops at Home Depot to pick up items. So we practice what's been passed down, prescribed through what's called Guru Parampara. Parampara means one after another. So there's a succession of teachers that come all the way from the beginning of the creation. And of course, just like any good machine, the material world is sometimes described as a machine. There's instructions that come with it. Have you ever gotten a machine and it had some instructions?
Yes.
Did you read them? Not so much. Well, these ones you should read. They're called the Vedas, and they tell us how to live in the world and not get frustrated, to be effectual in our work, do the kind of work in the right ways so that we can be in harmony with the universe. That sounds reasonable, right? And then the Vedas also give instruction about how to understand the difference between ourselves and our material bodies, and they tell us why the world seems to be so frustrating at times. And then they also give us instruction about how to elevate our consciousness to the highest level. The highest level of consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. And the Vedas describe how we start off in the lowest form of consciousness called andamoy, which means that we're only aware that we want to eat. Certain types of animals just live hand to mouth or paw to mouth, and they're consumed by eating something or eating someone, and they go on like that in their entire existence. And that's all they can think of. That's as far as their consciousness has developed. And then there's pranamoy, where there's a more exhibition of life that comes through particular animals, and you can start to see that they have similar sentiments to human beings. And then there's gyanamoy, which takes place when one starts to use one's intellect and see the difference between the elements in the world and oneself, and say that perhaps I'm not part of the material world. And the perfection of all of it is called anandamoy, where one comes to realize oneself as a part and parcel of Krishna. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes this clear. He says, Mamai vamsho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, manakshashtan indriyani, prakritistani karshati. That every living soul is a part of me, a tiny part. And presently, he says, those souls that are in contact with the material nature are struggling very hard with the six senses and the mind, which are also material. So the Bhagavad Gita is a treatise that tells any soul how to free him or herself from this struggle and come to the position of anandamoy, or bliss, happiness, real happiness. And it can't be achieved, this type of happiness, that is, through adjusting our material condition. If you have a pet fish, anybody here have a pet fish? Yeah? And the fish escapes one day, gets out of his bowl, and starts walking down the street. And maybe he meets people along the way, and they see that he doesn't look so satisfied. Maybe he's gasping for air or something. He walks funny. And so they offer him various amenities to make him happy. What could you give a fish walking down your street besides water? Pizza. Give him a pizza with everything on it, even pineapple, which is sacrilege, but, Anyway, so pizza. You give him pizza. What else are you going to give him? You give him an umbrella. Armand, give us something. What are you going to give the fish? A defibrillator?
A box to sleep in.
A box to sleep in, yeah. A comfortable box. Maybe put a little cotton in it, a little sleep number on it, so his fins can fit in a little crevasse and he'll feel comfortable. What else do you want to give your fish? The friendly fish? You're jumping the gun over here now. Okay, what else? Give him something else that's not going to help. Give him some shoes. Yeah. Fish need shoes, right? And what else? There should be good shoes, though, right? Prada. $1,000 for Prada shoes. So, yeah, what else? Give him a shark. Maybe a toy shark as a companion. We could go on and list practically everything you can think of that we could purchase here, maybe, or this on Amazon. And our fish friend would not be happy, but now's your turn. What are you going to do to make him happy? I think we'd throw him back in water first, right? As soon as he gets back in water, then he feels satisfied. So basically what Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, in this verse, Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartino arjuna, that you can survey the whole material world. Doesn't matter where you go. You're not going to be happy until you get back in the water. So when we get back in the environment that makes us happy, that makes us feel whole and natural, then we feel satisfied and we don't need anything else. Fish really don't need much. They just want to swim around, right? So similarly, we can enter into the environment where we feel ourselves whole again and connected to Krishna. And this is called the state of yoga. And in that state, we achieve ananda, or happiness, bliss. So the process for doing this is recommended in this age, as I mentioned, and it was propagated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's the most recent avatar of Krishna. The word avatar means one who crosses down to come and help us. And the avatar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam in many places. Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sangopangasha Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedasaha. This verse was spoken by Karabhajana Muni, and he said that the incarnation in the Kali Yuga, the age we're in now, will be of golden color, and he'll also always be saying Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And he'll also have associates who come with him to help spread the chanting of Hare Krishna everywhere, because it's the Yuga Dharma that everyone can take up, and it doesn't matter where you live or what kind of work you have or what culture you're from. It's a universal process. So that's what he taught, and he advocated that everyone else take it up and teach it to others, because he could see that in the Kali Yuga, people would feel especially inconvenienced because of the nature of this age. Anybody feel a little inconvenienced by the nature of the age? Yes? 1, 2, let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So he said, chant Hare Krishna in a group, and the mantra itself, he gave the qualities of the mantra. He said, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. So he said, first of all, the mantra is a cleansing agent. And what is it cleaning? The mirror of our minds. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Marjanam means to clean, and a Darpanam is a mirror. So when the mirror is covered with a film of dirt, we can't see in it. And we can't see ourselves when the mind is also full of all kinds of images that obscure our vision of ourselves, what to speak of the source of ourselves, Krishna, who's there with us in the heart, but we can't see either ourselves or Krishna. So he said, if you chant Hare Krishna, one of the benefits is that you'll cleanse the mirror of the mind. And then he said that this whole world that we're in now is, and this metaphor is getting more and more, will be more and more appreciated, I think, as time goes on. It's like a forest fire. Why is it going to be more and more appreciated? 2 words. Global warming. So as we see fires break out very easily here, there, and everywhere, the material world's always burning, he said. And how do you put out the forest fire? You can't use a garden hose. You need to have a downpour. It's got to really rain hard. So he said this chanting has this quality of bringing relief to the burning sensation that we get in this world. Anybody ever feel a burning sensation here? Well, you're 98.6, I hope. That's pretty hot. So you're probably all feeling it. You just forgot. But burning in the sense that our opportunities burn up, or whatever we have seems to burn up. And in teaching about the Sankirtan, or the process for the age, the Yuga Dharma, he said, you'll feel relief from that. The sound vibration of the mantra, when you chant it, it will put out the fire. You'll feel better. Then he says, it'll open the white lotus of good fortune in your life. Does that sound like a good idea? Yes. Yeah, I better say yes. If someone walks up to you and say, would you like the white lotus of good fortune to open in your life? You just say yes. So there's a way in which we become unfortunate in this world by getting entangled in the 3 modes of material nature. We get lost here. And everyone tries for good fortune, but sometimes it comes and sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't come by luck, but it comes by spiritual practice. We become more and more fortunate when we practice bhakti yoga. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, if you chant Hare Krishna, the Sankirtan, then the white lotus of good fortune will open in your life. And he said also you'll get knowledge, because this chanting is Krishna, it's his names, and he's married to Lakshmi Devi, and also the goddess Saraswati is there always. So knowledge will come automatically. It's not that you have to become a great scholar, but just by chanting Hare Krishna, as it says in the Bhagavatam, Vasudeve Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga Prayojita, Jnanam Chayara Haitukam. When you do direct devotional service, you naturally get knowledge. You start to see things as they are. So he says that this is a bath for the soul. Sarvatma Snapanam. You take a shower in this sound vibration. And then he says, if you go on doing this, then you'll be victorious in everything you do. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. He gives this battle cry, practically. If you want to be successful, if you want to win the great battle in life, chant Hare Krishna. So this is the prime process that our founder Acharya taught, and we follow that process. We chant both in a group, and those who take to a personal spiritual practice at home also chant what's called japa. They'll pace or they'll sit, and by themselves they'll chant out loud the mantra, same mantra, over and over again, listening to the sound of the mantra, and they count how many mantras they say every day. And this is a practice that is highly recommended. It's called japa. So you can do japa of the holy name. So devotees try to work themselves up to a certain level of chanting, and they maintain that over time, and they find great relief in their lives from practicing this, chanting in a group and also chanting individually. Thank you for participating in the Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga. Make the world a better place, just like that. And now we have a word from our sponsor. Our programs are all sponsored by the makers of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. We have a short video to show you about one of the many projects. This is an entrepreneurial center. We don't just sit and chant, but we invent ways to spread the vibration of the holy names and the various scriptures that have been passed down to us painstakingly to make sure that everybody else has them. One of the reasons is that distribution is the best kind of preservation. So the more places the literatures reside, the more likely it is that they will be around for a long period of time. And also because people do take advantage of them, they start reading and then their lives get turned around. We have people in our midst right now, including myself, who that happened to. So let's see the film. Are we going to set that up? Is it ready to go immediately, or do I have to do some banter? Would you like to do some banter while we're getting ready for it? Seriously, folks. Yes? Let's ask them. What do you feel about the prospect of moving up by about 7.2 inches? Everyone agree? Let's do it while we're waiting for the video to get about 7.2 at least. Yeah. You need 2 more. 0.2. You didn't do your 0.2 and wait. Yeah, go ahead and move up. We fit as many as 12,000 people in here, so don't worry, it's fine. Okay, so just to set this up a little bit, this is one of our entrepreneurial outreach programs. We distribute books, especially Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, all over the world. Now, here in Silicon Valley, no matter how you feel about student debt and whatever other debt you have on your credit card, this is one of the wealthiest places on earth. And maybe most of it's concentrated in this room right now, I don't know. But in any case, there are people all over the world. When we travel, we get to see what other people live like, and they live very simply. And Latin America is one of the places. Nonetheless, they're very open-hearted down there. People in Latin America are inclined towards God realization. And I've been out meeting people in various places around the world for the last 50 years. And I have yet to find a person from Latin America or Mexico, anywhere where they're not interested in God. It's a very, very God-conscious, pious place. But the economy there is crazy. There are ways in which it's so destabilized there that people live, many of them hand to mouth, and it's very difficult to get by. What to speak of being able to afford a set of books. So we've taken it upon ourselves here to build pipelines around the world. I don't know if you remember the days of Ross Perot and all this, NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. Any economist in here? Anybody follow politics? So North American Free Trade Agreement. We started a few years ago NIFTA, which is North America India Free Trade Agreement, where we've been sending full sets of books to the villages of India, which are vulnerable because although they're the mainstay of India, believe it or not, they're actually being affected by various other ideologies besides the Vedic system. But the remedy is when the Bhagavatam goes into the learning center in the villages, people remember and they rally around it because it's such a substantial literature and culture. Also, Africa, that's another one of our destination places for multiple sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ukraine, during the war times, we've been sending books down there. People so much appreciate it. And so this one, you'll see, is about Latin America. Let's roll it, Ramananda Saka Prabhu. I don't want any stampedes or anything like that. Just keep your credit cards in your pocket for a while. We still got a ways to go here. Ramananda Prabhu, why don't you give me can I use a clicker? I have a few slides I'm going to show. We'll be promoting Srimad Bhagavatam here continuously, but especially now leading up to Bhadra Purnima, which is in September sometime, right? 28th? 28th September, it's full moon. On that full moon day, says the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, when you give a set of Srimad Bhagavatams to someone else as a gift on that day, then the return gift is that you go back to Godhead. Hey, I didn't make it up. It's in the Bhagavatam. So it's become a tradition all over ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, to ramp up the distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam during this time, partly to fulfill the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada. When Prabhupada once saw the Sherman-Williams paint sign, does anybody know what that logo is? Anybody here paint in your spare time? Sherman-Williams paint. It's got a picture of a globe, and then it's got a can of paint that's being dumped on the globe, and it says, cover the earth. So probably that should be our motto for Srimad Bhagavatam, should cover the earth. So we're working on it. And this is one of the services that we do here to our spiritual master, and everybody else who wants to have a part of it one way or another can also participate. As I said before, there's multiple ways that you can do it, and this is one of them. Here's how to be a happy human. I know you all raised your hands earlier that you're human, right? Okay. Now, who wants to be a happy human? Okay, everybody else, there's a waiting room outside. Okay, how to be a happy human. So, what is a happy human? A happy human is called a Sukhi Nara. Everyone say. Sukhi Nara. Sounds Japanese, but it's Sanskrit. Sukhi Nara. So Sukhi means happy, and Nara means human. So we're humans, we might as well figure out how to be happy, right? Say yes. So do you have a happiness plan? You don't really, right? Maybe you have it out in the car somewhere, in the glove box, you forgot about it. If you want to get smart, what do you have to have? Smartness plan. If you want to get wealthy, everybody knows this one, what do you have to have? A wealth plan. If you want to get healthy, you got to have a... If you want to be happy, happiness plan. And if you can't do any of those, you can't do anything. What do you got to have? A can plan. Go ahead, you can look. Got to have a can plan. Okay. So, do you have a happiness plan? Yes, we do. That's what we specialize in here. And here's a few alternatives. That's not ours. That's the competition. You can see my reflections in the mirror there. There's Dodie there. It's at the San Francisco airport. And I couldn't resist taking a picture of this because their claim is that you're going to get moments of timeless pleasure. Now, how true is that? Timeless pleasure? Not so much. But there is an idea that there is such a thing as timeless pleasure. Otherwise, where did it come from? If we're trying to find it in Ghirardelli. How about this one? Why are you laughing? Come on, it's not funny. Open happiness. Sure thing. We sure will. It's sugar water. But they identify it with people running on beaches and, like I see in India, there's some person they selected that just, they look appealing, and then they're hot and they're drinking down this bottle, and and it leaves a samskar in my mind. And I think, if I want to be happy, I'll open a bottle of happiness. But it's not really, right? Not so much. Not a bottle of happiness. So there's images all around us where people are claiming that you'll find happiness here or there, and this will be satisfactory, and your life will be better, and so forth. But it's not true. Here's really open a bottle of happiness. Look at that one. You've heard of levitation? All mystic powers are there in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, because it's a mystical chant from the spiritual world. So these are young people, and they're on the street corner in New York City, and they're doing the Yuga Dharma. And they look pretty bummed out, right? Like really morose, nothing happening. So real open happiness means to connect with Krishna. Krishna is known as the source of all happiness, and when we connect with him by chanting Hare Krishna, we can feel happy. So here's what Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita about happiness. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. And that's where the phrase Sukhinara comes from. Krishna says, learn to control your senses. Now, there's another idea that if you just are able to indulge your senses enough, then you'll be happy. I just haven't gotten enough of a chance to indulge my senses. That's what my mind thinks. And if I can just get that one more object, or I can have one more interaction, then I'll become happy. But the problem with material happiness, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, is yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkayonaya evate ajantavanta konteya nate shuramate buddha. That you get the opposite result. You don't really get happiness, you get misery instead. That's terrible, right? Say yes. Yeah, it's terrible. So when you try for it, that's when you start to suffer. So happiness doesn't come from interaction between the material senses and their objects in the material world. In fact, Krishna says that that's when misery starts. That's good to know, right? Yes, say yes. Okay. Then we have this awakening of desire to find true happiness called Shraddha. So Shrad means the heart, and Da is an active verb. It means where you place something. So in the core of your heart, what you believe will make you happy. We call Shraddha faith. And everyone has faith in a particular method for getting happiness. This is what the Vedas teach. They say everybody's looking for happiness, and everyone has faith in a particular way of finding that happiness in the material world. What are some of the ways that people feel that they would become happy here in the material world, very specifically?
Take a vacation.
Take a vacation to where? To Maui, okay? And where else? He said Maui. So where else did you think you were going to find happiness? A specific way you're going to do, yes? Buy a big home where?
Near beach.
Where?
Near beach.
Near the beach, okay? Buy a new home near the beach, okay? What else? Yes? Win the lottery. That's a big one. Many people, when the lottery starts creeping up to a certain level, people preface every sentence with, when I win the lottery, or if I win the lottery, I had a relative like that. And I was like, would you cut out the lottery stuff? Let's just talk. If I ever win the lottery, ... blah, blah, blah. But as it turns out, from studies, people don't become happier when they win the lottery. In fact, most of the time they become more distressed because you don't get happiness from interaction with the material world. It's not possible. There's nothing here for us. So when faith awakens in the heart that happiness is somewhere else and that there is a process to attain it, this is called Shraddha. And so, as I described earlier, our hearts are like a mirror. And when we cleanse that mirror, the misperception that leads to these ideas that we can become happy in the material world starts to clear up. And the problem is, when the mirror is distorted, then I see the world in a distorted way. And I think that happiness comes from the material world. So the beginning stage of spiritual practice means that our perception begins to clear and we see where real happiness is. So one of the sources of all our happiness, or I should say the source of our real happiness, is already right close to us. That was weird English. The source of our happiness is the closest person to us, who happens to be Krishna, who's in our heart. So this is the teaching of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Does anybody know in the Bhagavad Gita where he says he's in everyone's heart? Savasachaham hridisani vishto. He said, I'm there within I've entered in everyone's heart. I want you to take a look around before you look at anybody. When you look at somebody in the room here, remember that Krishna is in their heart when you look at him. And look at him, you'll see everybody you look at now in a different way, because look at them as a temple, because God's in their heart. How about that? Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Did you look at everybody and notice that, or at least theoretically accept that Krishna is in their heart?
Yes.
Did they seem different to you now because you weren't seeing the external feature? This is one of the points that's made in the Shriya Upanishad. It says, Yastu sarvani bhutani atmaivad buddvijanataha tatrakum mohakashoka ekatvam manupashata. And if you have this vision that Krishna's in my heart and in everybody else's heart, then you'll never lament. You'll always see Krishna everywhere and you'll be happy because he's the source of all happiness. And here's a beautiful name of Krishna. Everyone can say Suhrit. Suhrit means our best friend who lives in our heart. And what's so good about Krishna being our best friend anyway? Let's have a few suggestions. What do you think's good about having Krishna as your best friend? Yes? He's eternal. Don't you hate it when you lose friends? One of my best friends, Jim Ellison, I lost him in high school, and he went camping with John Gaudio out in some wilderness area, and then John Gaudio came back, but Jim Ellison didn't. No one ever found him again. That just about was the last straw for me. I said, I'm joining the Hare Krishna movement. So Krishna is not like that. He's eternal. He never dies. He never wanders off and gets lost. Okay. Yes. He's our protector. Krishna is a protector of all living beings. That's a good reason. And he never leaves us. He's all powerful. So if you put these two, yes.
Someone who loves us.
Someone who loves us. Always, right? So Krishna's all powerful. And he's also all protective. So if he was all powerful, but he wasn't protective, like merciful to us, then we'd be in big trouble, right?
Yes.
And if he was merciful and protective, but he didn't have power, what good would that be, right? That's like everybody else. They say, I'll protect you, and then when the real disaster comes, they go, well, good luck. Everyone's on their own now. Because there's not much everyone can do. Shukadev Goswami points that out in the Bhagavatam. Deha patra kalatradeshu atmasaine sasatsapi tesham pramato nidhanam pashyanapi napashyati. He says, people see that people can't protect us in this world. Our bank account, our families, even the houses we have, they get washed down the river when the big flood comes. Nothing can protect us in this world except for Krishna. And he's all powerful. So these are points of meditation to understand that we're very lucky. Krishna's in our heart. He's our best friend, and he's all powerful, and he's all merciful. And he's also considered to be a desire tree. In the Sri Upanishad, it says, Saparigach krukram akayam avranam, ashnahaviram shudanam papavidam, kavir manishi paribhu swayambur yatat yatyator tan viradash shasvati bhya samabhyaha. And part of that verse says that Krishna has been fulfilling the desires of every living entity since it's a time immemorial. So he's our best friend. So he's there fulfilling the desires of each individual living entity. So it's more a matter of what we desire than what's happening to us in this world, because when we desire the wrong things, then we get ourselves into trouble. But when we learn what our true interest is in life and we refine our desires, then we become happy. So here's a prayer, and we can try it out together. And it's a prayer said by Prahlad Maharaj, and it contains the essence of how to be happy. I pray from your Lordship that within the core of my heart there be no material desires. Who would have thought that would be an effective prayer? Because I always think if I could just fulfill my material desires, then I'd be happy. But that doesn't work. However, those who are enlightened, like Sri Prahlad, say, let it be that there's no material desires in my heart. Does that mean there's no desires at all? No, the answer is no on that one. What it means is we desire only service to Krishna. Then we're happy. And here is another prayer. And this is a good one to say right before you go to bed. Let's say it all together. O my Lord, as powerful as fire, now I offer you all obeisances, falling on the ground at your feet. Please lead me on the right path to reach you. And as you know, all I have done in the past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins so that there will be no hindrance to my progress. Isn't that a nice prayer? If you'd like to have that to take with you, it's in the book called Sri Upanishad. You can pick it up from the book table before you go, and it's the last mantra. And you can memorize that and say that before you go to bed at night. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita asks us to manage our expectations. And he tells us that the material world is a place of suffering. I know there's a family show, and I don't mean to bring a downer to everybody, but it's just a fact. It's there in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Dukhalayam ashashvatam. Dukkha means what? Duk. Misery. And alayam is a place. So Dukhalayam is the place where you go to get misery. So if you manage your expectation and you know that this is a place of misery, when various inconveniences come to you in your life, you won't be so disappointed because you'll know that's what happens here. So there's a way that we deceive ourselves, and we say that when my circumstances change, I'll become happy. When my circumstances change. What kind of circumstances need to change in order for me to be happy? Job. I got to get a different job. What else to be happy? I got to have more money or less? Because if it's less, see me afterwards. I can help you out. What else? Weather. If the weather changes, then I'll be happy. What else? Clothes. If I just had the right clothes. I don't have the right clothes yet. What? Car. I need a new car. Yeah, to be happy, I need a new car. I need to be immortal. Yeah, then I'll be happy. The problem is the circumstances are always changing. And from moment to moment, when I depend on the circumstances, then my fortune changes and my mood and attitude change. So here's the healthy outlook. Would you like to hear the healthy outlook? Yes. Okay, only half of you said yes. The rest of you cover your ears. When I purify my heart, I'll become happy. You can say that, it sounds nice. When I purify my heart, I'll become happy. Here's a limited outlook. The world is an opportunity for my enjoyment. It's a very limited opportunity. Here's the unlimited opportunity. Are you ready? The world is an opportunity for service. So, devotees learn from reading Bhagavad Gita that every circumstance is an opportunity to improve my devotion to Krishna. And this is possible because we're human to make changes in our life, to adjust. So we have voluntary life changes versus forced life changes. Have you ever been forced to change something in your life? Yes. Were you happy about it? Not so much, maybe. But you can make your own list and say, these are the items that I'd like to change in my life so that I can be on the right track. And these are called voluntary life changes, or VLCs. Or there's reactionary life changes, which means that without knowledge, I overreact to what's happening to me. I make ultimatums and I do things that aren't wise. So in voluntary life changes, we take help from the Bhagavad Gita, we understand what's the right path, and then we change our life, if you need to, by little increments, so that you can come to the right point. And our greatest assets in life are our gratitude and our sincerity. And I'm going to read you a quote that Ekachakra Prabhu read to us the other morning on Saturday. That other morning was yesterday. And it talks about sincerity and how important it is. If one serves faithfully, there is no possibility of frustration because the Lord himself takes charge of the devotee's advancement. The Lord is seated in everyone's heart, and he knows the devotee's motive and arranges everything achievable. In other words, the pseudo-devotee who is anxious to achieve material gains cannot attain the highest perfectional stage because the Lord is in knowledge of his motive. One merely has to become sincere in his purpose, and then the Lord is there to help in every way. Okay, now we have an opportunity to have some human interaction. Let's hear any of the thoughts you have about what we've discussed so far. You can reflect back any points or ask a question to incite the audience. Yes. You'll get a free microphone.
Namaste.
Namaste.
So, it's indirectly related to what you said. But the question is, on the silent days, like I observe some silent days. Then
Silent days, yes.
Silent,
No talking.
No talking, no laptop, no phone, nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, mostly indoors, right? So, on those days, do we chant out loud or inside?
Yes, you could chant out loud. Because when you talk about Krishna or you chant Hare Krishna, it's not counted as regular talking. So real silence means to only talk about Krishna. And when you talk about Krishna, then you get purified, as is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shrinvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantaksto hibadrani vidhunoti suritsatam. Just by talking and hearing about Krishna, then the heart becomes purified.
Yeah.
So it's highly recommended that one chant and speak about Krishna, and this is considered to be real silence. Because there's matter and there's antimatter. So when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you're not involved with the material world at all. And that's the whole idea behind being silent, not to get entangled. In his prayers, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 5th chapter, 1st canto, Narada Muni says, actually there's instructions to his disciple Vyasadeva. He says that anything you desire to describe in this world that's separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different names, forms, and results to agitate the mind, the way a boat on water is agitated by the wind when it has no resting place. So according to devotional lawyers who have looked into this very carefully, and it's been tried in several court cases, high courts, low courts, it's passed through all the circuits, it's already been vetted, as is mentioned by Shukadev Goswami in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, Etan nirvidyamananam ichatam akatobhayam yoginam nripanirnitam harir namanukirtanam. What that verse says is, it's been decided by the lower courts, middle courts, and higher courts that speaking about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, maintains the silence. Next question. Yes. Arman, otherwise known as Arman.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I really liked the lecture today, and I had a reflection. So I remember when you were talking about Sukhinara and how we can tolerate, when you tolerate the urges, you become a happy person. And I reflected on that I remembered the verse, NOI verse 1, the Nectar of Instruction verse 1. Vacho vegam manashakroda vegam, jiva vegam udarapashta vegam, etan veganyo vishtaheta dira, sarvam apimam prativam sashishyat. So basically this verse talks about how a sober person who can tolerate the urges of the genitals, the stomach, the mind, the stomach, the tongue, and the mouth, they can become they're really a pure devotee. And I felt that we see so many people that are examples of this, and that I see like in their Dumna Maharaj and all these other Maharajas, and even you, Vaisesika Prabhuji, I see that you're so you're happy because you can tolerate the urges of the senses, and
and that's why we call him our man. Yeah. It's a well-known fact that delayed gratification leads to a sense of well-being. And it's a similar thing Krishna says. It's no big surprise, right? Shouldn't be a big surprise. Well done, well done. Okay, a couple more. Yes, Prabhu. Mayapur Vihari Prabhu, where the effulgence is coming from back there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful session. Reminded me of the basics, so that is very nice. In fact, both Parte, the video, where there was so much gratitude that was conveyed, especially when Mataji reminded me that Bhagavatam came just after Krishna left the world. Knowing is one thing, but actually realizing it and trying to implement it. So it was very nice to see that video. And also your slide was amazingly nectarian. Same thing, same concept for me. While on one sense I feel, yes, I know it, but always a challenge to implement it. So thanks for reminding these two wonderful factors.
Yeah, one of the points I thought of in the video was that young woman was quoting Bhagavatam. And you see the power of the distribution of the literature. It goes all over the world, and then people read it, and they start to remember it, and then speak from the Bhagavatam itself. And it has this spiritual effect. One day when we were in Santa Cruz, we set up a table there on, which the avenue? Pacific Avenue. And people come and go. It's a thoroughfare. And it was quite crowded one Saturday, and our display was magnificent, and a disheveled man walked up. Disheveled means it looked like he'd been sleeping on the street for a long time. And his hair was matted long, and he looked slightly deranged because he didn't make eye contact at first. And so he came up and he stood very straight in front of the book display. And then I asked him, I said, do you know anything about this? And he goes, I know something about this. I said, what do you know? And then he stood even straighter and he said, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadya Sayatonvayadi Taratascharte Swabhigna Swarat. And he said the whole first verse of the Bhagavatam in very nice pronunciation of the Sanskrit. And I was about to say something to him, but he just turned around and walked into the crowd and he never came back. But it left me with an impression that as we are distributing books into the world, people read them. They get ingrained in people's minds and hearts. Okay, one more. Shankari Kaur is online. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. So, Guru Maharaj,
Doing
we
a little
always talk
reading, are we, over there?
What's the
We noticed the pile of books on the side. Go ahead.
So, Guru Maharaj, service, yes, we should do service, and not that there is any expectation attached to the service, but there has been times when we've offered service and somebody totally mistook it, and they thought that, okay, we were, trying to show that how magnanimous we are or how good we are, and they, their reaction was that they totally blasted us, and, they even they they doubted our intentions as well. So in those situations, how do we go about it?
Well, you just go on with your service. It's inevitable that at some point or other you'll be misunderstood in this world. It's kind of natural. And I know it could be hurtful because when your intention is different, it's sincere, and somebody misunderstands it, then it can feel really hurtful. So it's a good reminder when we talk to people that we never try to assume what their intentions are, because that's the real pain point in everyone's heart, that they did it for the wrong reason or something like that. But on another side, when your intention is sincere, then you can't be harmed by anybody else because you have integrity. And when you do something and it's misunderstood, Krishna knows why you did it. And that's something you can always take shelter of and remember, that Krishna knows what my heart is. I'll give you an example. Akrura was asked to go to Vrindavan and pick up Krishna on a chariot and bring him back to Mathura. Do you know why he was supposed to do that? Because Kamsa had a plan that he wanted to kill Krishna and Balaram. So that's not a very good job, right? Meanwhile, he's a pure devotee of Krishna, and he was on the chariot, and he was going there to Mathura, and all the while he was offering prayers. And in one of his prayers he says, this doesn't really look good externally, because after all, I'm on a dastardly mission going there to pick up Krishna and bring him back to Mathura. And what am I doing that for? I'm a devotee. He said, but my intention is just to see Krishna because he's going to put his hand on my head and give me blessings, and I'll be able to bow down to him. That's all he was thinking about. And he said, it may look bad externally. So external interactions don't affect us as much when we know we're good for it. And oftentimes people then will realize later, when you go on with your service, that you actually did have a high-minded intention. And they may even recant if you wait long enough. Strange things like that happen. Thank you very much for such an important question. Okay, we have time for one more. We're voting. You get the question. Better be good. Just kidding. Free mic with every question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the beautiful lecture and slideshow and kirtan. I was just reflecting on the fact of how fortunate I am to have received this gift of chanting the holy names and dancing during the kirtans, and I'm just reflecting on that.
Yeah, you take advantage of it. I notice that. You always dance. You're always happy. You're very lucky. Thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Now we have time for one more kirtan. And what is the Sankirtan called? What's the technical category it's under? Starts with a Y, and then the second word is a D. Yuga Dharma. Everyone say Yuga Dharma. Yeah, Yuga Dharma is a practice that you can depend on. And in the age of Kali, that's the age we're in right now, when you take time to chant with your family, gather together, you don't need any instruments, you can clap your hands, and sing the Hare Krishna mantra, you'll notice that the whole house gets purified. Everyone in the house feels happier. You can handle life when you do that. The Yuga Dharma is very powerful. So you can practice it in your car. Try it next time you're driving to a family gathering, or when you're leaving a family gathering and everyone's bummed out.